Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose. Affirmative.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all races, colors, and creeds. Welcome back to the greatest show on earth, the Investigative Journal. I'm your host, Greg Anthony, here for the Friday edition, and boy, do we have a jam-packed show. I'm going to tell you where I'm broadcasting from in a second, and sometimes I have to be very quiet. This is an area that's been surveilled by the Vatican-led New World Order for at least a decade, but I've snuck my way in, so just relax. Okay, I guess I got the sign I can talk now loudly. Okay, so listen, I've been working on this mystery novel about the Wuhan virus, and we're going to write that to make a killing on this book. And it's only fiction, you know, and what did Mark Twain say about comedy? And I'm not making a joke, but anyway, if people criticize me for wanting to make $1 off the Wuhan virus, so be it. But he said, what is comedy? Mark Twain once said, what it is this. It's tragedy plus time. Tragedy plus time. When's the right time to make a joke about somebody near you who dies? I'll tell you what, I'm going to give everybody permission to when I pass away, and whoever knows me, you can joke all you want right after I die, 30 seconds after. And please tell me some good Polish jokes. I mean, better than I've heard. You know, I'm tired of the light bulb joke. And anyway, you're going to be so surprised to hear where I'm broadcasting from today. But this mystery novel I'm going to put on hold till Monday. We're going to get to it. And that's the one we're creating. It's only fiction about what really happened in Wuhan. And then, of course, I'll be part 5 Monday of the War on Drugs, linking together the United States government, the CIA, the Jesuits, the Vatican, the cartels, the mafia, the Vatican Bank, money laundering operation, etc., etc. And we'll get to that part 5 because we're going to get into Mena, Arkansas. Remember the journalist who was killed over that from the Fresno newspaper? Gary Webb. And also get into the Mexican cartels as well as the Colombian cartels, their connections to the CIA, etc. And today, what can we do? What can we do? Well, if you bear with me in this half hour, in the second half hour, I'm going to make some outlandish statements that on each and every one of them, I'll be considered the biggest conspiracy theorist since Copernicus. Yes. Well, he was a conspiracy theorist, right? And I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, this half hour, I started to think, and so I looked up some things, and somebody on my show yesterday talking about the COVID, whatever it is, the coronavirus they call it, put an email that made me think, not connecting it to the virus, but made me think about 5G. Okay, you know what that is. The 5th generation, right? On your telephone, on your internet for quick speeds. And he said that Wuhan, China, was the first city that 5G was experimented on. It is there in Wuhan. That's a city of 11 million people. So I thought, why don't we talk a little bit about the dangers of 5G? And in the second half hour, you got to stick around. I'm going to make such outlandish statements that people will never, ever want to listen from the mainstream. 99% of the American people won't be able to handle it. And they'll say, this guy is worse than Alex Jones. You know, the mainstream likes to refer to Alex Jones as a conspiracy theorist. I happen to think he works together with them in a kind of an odd way. And how do I make that decision? Well, you know something? I used to have a show right after his years ago, and he made some statements that still today baffle me. But anyway, let him do what he does. I have nothing against him. Have fun, Alex. You're making a lot of money. Just don't take everybody down that wrong rabbit hole, will you? Give us a break. But anyway, those outlandish statements, you got to come back for the second half hour. And you know what? Let me tell you where I'm at now, okay? And I am going to, I've only got a minute to interview Slatz Grubnic. And he's behind a metal door. He does not go out anymore outside of his enclosed area that's covered and his replica Coliseum he's building in a Kansas cornfield. And that's where I am today, in his underground bunker. And he's been there for years because he's been basically harassed into this bunker. But he will not come out because of all of this radiation and microwave weaponry they've been throwing at him. But I'm as brave as Joe Biden. And in fact, if you've listened to Joe Biden lately, just to have fun, I turn on politics because I know it's all a joke. It's like a TV show to me. And I was listening to Joe Biden the other day. And this old cranky old guy, two things. He's always in the wrong state. He's in Ohio. He says he's in Orlando or something. If he's running for president, the other day he said he's running for Senate. I don't even know what he's running for. But if you listen to him the other day on those debates, he did everything. Joe Biden is basically done everything in the world. I don't know why he wants to run for president. And actually, Joe Biden has done this. I mean, listen to him. Somebody says, I wrote this bill. I got thrown in jail with Mandela. That's not true. Biden has basically done everything, seen everything, and we owe our world to Joe Biden. I owe everything to Joe Biden. I heard he was the first one who created the Morse code. Yeah. And I heard he also created television. That, if you ask him, he'll tell you that. I don't think Joe knows where he's at anymore. But anyway, imagine him leading the free world. You know what? I'd rather have him because that would be really interesting. Joe would probably get inaugurated. The next time you'd see him would be 4 years later. And he'd be somewhere doing something, saving the entire world, but somebody else who'd be running the White House. But anyway, enough about Joe Biden. Here I am in this bunker, in the replica Coliseum. Now, if you don't know about this, I've been interviewing Slatz Grubnic, mostly emails, letters, and some conversations we've had in some Chicago bars, Sam's Tavern. And it's been years since he left to build the Coliseum, and his idea was very simple. I want to build a replica of the Coliseum in a Kansas cornfield. Field of Dreams gave him the idea. And he wants to do it because he wants to put the New World Order people in there, Jesuits, popes. Wouldn't it be nice, Pope Francis fighting Pope Ratzinger in front of all of 100,000 people who pay $5 to get in? He wants to make it cost-effective. As he said on the ad he ran yesterday. So then he called me and said, Greg, get a plane and come over to Kansas. So I did. I went to Kansas. Here I am, putting my life in jeopardy, just like Joe Biden. And guess what? I'm going to give you the first interview ever of Slatz Grubnic, a 1-minute interview. He doesn't want even his voice to be known. So I'm going to he's got a muffled voice, but I've got a few questions to ask him. Okay, Slatz, are you there? Yes, I'm there. Slatz, are you there? Yes. Okay, he's there. Yes, he says to hold it down. Slatz, some people think you're real. Are you real? No, I'm not real. I don't want anybody to know who the hell I am. I'm building this Coliseum for a reason, and if you want to come, you don't have to see me at all. I don't want anybody to know me, because these Jesuits, man, if they know who I am, they know my voice, they'll kill me. Slatz, why did you get this idea to build a Roman Coliseum? Well, I was sitting in the Chicago bar. I was about 3 sheets into the wind, and I said, I got to do something. I'm tired of just talking about it, and I know I can't defeat these son of a bitches, but I want to do something. Well, So what did you do? I got my ass out to Kansas. I just watched that Field of Dreams movie with Kevin Costner, and I said, if you build it, they'll come. So I've been building it. Anything else you want to say to the people? I just can't wait to get some of these jerks into that Coliseum and get a little taste of their own medicine. Okay, Slatz. Hey, thanks a lot. I know, and he's waving me off, and he's behind the steel door because, he's protecting himself. Slatz, I got to get back. Go, get out of here. Okay. We're still friends. Yes, we're friends. Bye. Okay, Slatz. Okay, Slatz Grubnic and the Roman Coliseum. I hope someday we get that done. That would be interesting. We don't have to force these people there. We're not going to arrest them like they do us for no reason. We'll give them their Fourth Amendment rights and everything. And I say is that maybe we should do the same thing that they're doing with this virus. Maybe we should concoct some kind of biological agent that makes all of our politicians and Jesuit leaders and everybody so docile that we can lead them right into the Coliseum, and then they can provide some entertainment for us for a change. But anyway, there we go. Okay, I can continue the show. He's given me I told him, I said, I'm out here. I got to finish the show. So, okay. Anyway, so we want to get to 5G, but first of all, I have an ad to run, and this was interesting. I'm getting a lot lately. I don't know. I'm going to be very wealthy. I've got the United States military advertising. I've also put a feelers out, and the Jesuits want to advertise with me. Believe it or not, they said, Greg, you know so much. Why don't you join our organization? You know more than most of our priests. I said, it's not a bad job. Free food, anything. I can go anywhere I want, do anything I want. The ends justify the means. Hell, it's a hell of a gig. But anyway, this is from Sniffing Dogs Incorporated. Yes, Sniffing Dogs. People, before I do this, they said I can say anything I want. I think people are really going overboard on this Wuhan virus or coronavirus, but this one takes the cake. But I got to read it. They paid me good dollars. And they said, if you want to make sure you don't get infected by the Wuhan virus, by the coronavirus, make sure that you get one of our sniffing guide dogs. We have trained dogs for 30 years in America from every kind of level. We have bomb-sniffing dogs. We have dogs that sniff out rats. We have dogs that sniff out everything. We have seeing eye dogs. We have dogs that just about do anything we want. But now we've trained our first sniffing coronavirus dog. And basically we have 10 to 15. And if you have any donations and want dogs to save your country, save your life, we have them for you. And if you get your own sniffing dog, coronavirus dog, here's what he can do for you. He can, from 30 feet away, detect whether a person has coronavirus. So you can go out with your sniffing dog and feel safe that you'll return home without the coronavirus. And this dog will be the most loyal character in the world. And basically, dogs don't get it. So anyway, go to sniffingcoronavirusdog@gmail.com. Gmail, get your sniffing dog, and be protected when you go outside nowadays. Okay, how'd I do in that ad? Well, they like my voice, so they said, just do it. I was going to spend a lot of time in the studio, but I told them I really don't have a studio. They said, that's okay. So anyway, let's get to 5G. But I know with people, this may turn a lot of people off. I'm thinking, people, we don't want to talk about it because I've got a 5G phone in my hand, and I want a fast internet. I want to be able to watch a movie in 2 seconds. But anyway, fry your brain while you do that, too. But anyway, listen to serious stuff. But listen, because in the second half hour, I'm going to blow your socks off with some things that you're not going to believe. Yeah. Well, you believe them. The people who listen to my show will believe them. But I want other people to listen and go, my goal in the next half hour is to make me the biggest conspiracy theorist that ever existed in the entire world. Okay? And then I've done my job. Because you know what they say about conspiracy theorists? What do they say, Greg? They say that the only people that are conspiracy theorists are the ones that really look into the facts about the conspiracy they're talking about, and it turns out the other people that don't believe it are in a conspiracy that are trying to debunk your conspiracy, if you can follow that. So anyway, 5G, over 180 scientists, and the numbers are growing, folks, and doctors in almost 40 countries are warning the world about 5G health risks. These scientists' response to a Resolution 1815 of the Council of Europe, we'll talk about that first, spells it out quite succinctly. It says, we, quote, the undersigned scientists recommend a moratorium on the rollout of the fifth generation 5G until potential hazards for human health and the environment have been fully investigated by scientists independent from the industry. That's important. 5G will substantially increase exposure to radio frequency and electromagnetic fields, RF-EMF fields, and has been proven to be harmful for humans and the environment. And my thinking, and that's an interesting quote, should scare the shit out of you. You know, my thinking is 4G is bad enough. Go to the hills. I was talking to somebody this morning over coffee before I was at the airport in Kansas. And there's 5G there. Okay, I'm sitting there, oh, my brain's being fried. I'll never be able to think after they're done with this. Go to the country, live in the fields, live somewhere far away. The world is not overpopulated. Trust me. You ever been out to the Mojave Desert or some places in Arizona? I mean, you go a lot of places. There's nobody. I don't see anybody. It's overpopulated. But if you're not alarmed about 5G radiation, you should be, folks. These, let me give you some of the download speeds. I mean, these speeds are up to 20 to 30 times faster than 4G. And 5G, man, it's getting ready. They need this for these self-driving cars, I hear, and all this, the Internet of Things, so they can have robots take over everything, and everything in your house and the world will be controlled by, this Internet because all of our brains are going to be fried. But there are a lot of potential health risks, seriously, and it's called 5G cancer. And the cities of Brussels and Geneva blocked the trials and banned upgrades to 5G until this could be figured out. But that wasn't, it rolled out here in America. It's all over the place in the U.S. right now, especially big cities. I guess you're still okay in the country. But the difference of a 4G to 5G in terms of gigahertz is, and that's the alternative current, the AC or the electromagnetic EM waves that are transmitted at speeds. The technology promises bands to be 30 to 300 gigahertz range, while 4G tops out at around 6 gigahertz. So you're looking at 300 gigahertz. When applied to video latency, they say, this translates to speeds up to 120 times faster. So for you people, that want to get fast, that's all you're going to hear. Man, I want to get on and watch that movie right away, Think about your brain. Keep the phone away from your head is one thing. Stay at least, what do they say, 6 inches away from you is at least. But 5G, if you start exposing the public to microwaves at 1 billion cycles per second, you got a problem. Humans and animals and the environment have been at risk for years with 4G. While 4G was bad enough, 5G takes this whole thing to a whole level of insanity. Now, 5G basically is 5th generation. Okay, I thought it was my initial for my name, which I was going to sue them over, but refers to the latest advancement in wireless systems. 5G promises to bring larger channels, higher speeds, larger packets of data, exponential responsiveness, and the ability to connect a host of devices from a single location. Imagine your dog. This is interesting, and I got to say this, and I'll probably say it a couple times. But we've always been warned about a microwave. From the radiation escaping from the door. 5G is like keeping your microwave open, running for your entire life, for the entire day, night. And you're right there standing in front of it. Well, it would be fair enough, and, we're talking at the start, 5Gs won't all work the same. And that's what's going on now. Some will be slow, and some of those networks will be super fast. But with limited coverage, eventually what they're forming is a global grid. Globalism. Unlike anything the earth has ever seen. It's going to be scary. This is not good for animals, for birds, for we don't need this. We really don't. They do. And even Trump, our famous trumpeter in the White House, has been lauding the fact that everybody, even in the country, is going to have the fastest internet under me. Well, you know what? It's not a good idea. But we're going to have it, so you got to learn to protect yourself. And would it be fair to assume that this technology has been tested for risks? This is simply not the case. There's no compelling data on health risks. When 5G launches, it will be, and has launched, it will be the first actual test on human beings ever performed. Now, the first place was in Wuhan, right, in China, I've heard. I didn't fact check that. But if it's not true, don't blame me, I got it from the guy who's listening to my show. But he said Wuhan. I think he sounded like a pretty interesting guy. He said that was the first city that had 5G, so I'll check that after the show and make the correction if that's not the case. But anyway, we know 5G is all over the States now. But it's live in many countries now. I'm not sure exactly where. I know that AT&T, T-Mobile are in 35, 40 cities and all over the place. And I'll try to get a little bit more information on that. But 5G is here to stay. And it's going to get faster and it's going to get more dangerous. And when you ask the people and scientists that are working for the industry, they'll say, no, it's not dangerous. Go ahead, fry your head. But anyway, 5G is the first global electromagnetic radiation test. That's when they put these out on planet Earth. Well, most wireless execs really say, screw this, kibosh this idea. And they have a long list of legitimate health concerns, right? They have concerns. Most scientists believe that the public is in danger and that further tests are needed before they roll this out. Well, they've already rolled it out, When it's done, and it's not going to get any better. Now, does 5G cause cancer? Many scientists understand that the electromagnetic radiation leaking through the doors of our microwave, remember ovens, are carcinogenic, and therefore can cause cancer. Most of these scientists also believe that these waves are mutagenic, meaning they change the DNA structure of living beings. The launch of 5G will be similar, like I said, listen to this, to turning on your microwave, opening its door, and leaving it on for the rest of your life. There's a good reason why hundreds of scientists are taking action against the wireless industry. But who do you think's going to win? They're spending billions on this thing. It's going to be a global network. It's needed for all their new fancy weapons and all their new fancy whatever, cars driving by themselves, trucks driving by themselves. Do we really need that? I enjoy driving. And they say, well, you're not a good driver. Well, the hell I'm not. The hell I am not. I'm better than any computer, and my driving record shows it. That's the way I feel about it. Oh, you're just an old-timer. You're just from the 60s, man. Go back to your whatever, Go listen to the Beatles and shut up. Well, anyway, I'm a better driver than any of these cars they're going to have with no drivers and computer systems. What happens if there's I don't even want to think about it. But anyway, the launch of 5G, like I said, is crazy. And they're doing it. They don't care. It really, it's just people, and most people will say, oh, hell, I want it. Imagine, so fast. As if you really need it. how many of you lived when there wasn't any computers? I was just fine. Just fine. And the less I knew, the happier I was. So listen, back in 3 minutes on The Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app. for all of your mobile devices. Streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, back for the second half hour of the greatest show on earth, the Investigative Journal. If you have the coronavirus, if you don't have it, if you think you're going to have it, if you're really worried about going outside, stay in, listen to the show. We're all going to be okay. Don't worry about it. We're all going to be okay. Greg Anthony here, second half hour. I got to move along because it's Friday. I want to have a big weekend. And I said this half hour, I'll tell you, I want to make a big splash. I want to be considered the biggest conspiracy theorist ever to live. And I want you to know I'm proud of it. Very, very, very proud of it. And you know what? Why don't we start out with some outlandish statements that 99% of the world is going to think we're crazy. Yes, just crazy. You know, I'm going to start out with the big one. Not the Big Bang. Well, that's a bunch of horse you-know-what. It is. So that's another one. There is no Big Bang. The only Big Bang there is if I do this. That's a Big Bang. That's about as big a bang as ever happened because, you know what? There is no universe. Who ever said it? Did you ever see it? Outside of looking up and staring at a star that happens to be there at the same time, same place all the time. And every year it's the same old damn thing. But we're spinning around at 99,000 miles an hour, right? Yeah, give me a break. So anyway, there I go. But me and Copernicus, he was a Polak, I'm a Polak. We're all happy, aren't we? But listen to me. I am not an avid Bible believer, and I guess because of that, I'm not really a born-again Christian, and so to speak, although I don't know. Maybe I am. But anyway, I don't want people listening here to just think I have some kind of agenda. I don't. But anyway, the enemy has created a grand deception. And you know who the enemy is. I pinpoint it really well. The Vatican-led Jesuit New World Order and all its minions worldwide. Figure that one out. Now, listen, the Bible, I'm telling you, I'm not even an avid Bible reader, or really, I don't preach on Sunday school every Sunday. I don't go to church very often. The only time I really got into the Bible was when I met a bunch of Seventh-day Adventists who really seemed to be thinking the way I did about the Vatican. And they taught me a lot about the Bible, and so I guess I have some kind of basis because I spent a lot of hours looking at it from both a historical and a spiritual point of view. And the history stuck in more with me. But anyway, the Bible does describe a geocentric universe. Whether you believe that it's a round shape or flat, it doesn't move. With a globe Earth at the center, right? With a dome on it. And I want to say this right now to all you people. If this is the biggest conspiracy in the world, I'm on the side of this. The enemy is using the heliocentrism to push their evolution doctrine and push many other things, push millions of dollars into NASA, all these fake moon landings, all these fake astronaut satellites up in the sky, all of this fake crap they show us. There's a space station. Give me a break, And, I'll sell you, the old joke. I'll sell you some some oceanfront property in Arizona or something, You need to read about the true doctrine of the geocentrism, where it came from, and all that stuff. Then came across that Polak Copernicus, screwed everything up. I told you, it's a big joke. Joke's on you guys. That's why these Polish jokes, I heard, got started. But anyway, there's no war on terror, because the people giving you this war on terror are actually the terrorists. Remember what James Madison said. If tyranny and oppression come to this land, it will be in the guise of fighting, not in the guise, it will be in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy. Okay? Now, I say, if tyranny comes, it will be because of the inside enemy. Now, the enemy is using the narrative of a foreign enemy. Al-Qaeda, ISIS is bringing tyranny to America now, right? Since we were on the terrorist discussion the other day, these things are orchestrated by the very people I talked about, the Jesuits. Yes, the Jesuits and your own CIA government created Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and I respect those who will call me crazy. But let me tell you, look at a guy, he's a Jesuit priest by Father Dell'Oglio, O-G-L-I-O. Check his history out, because I'm not going to spend time doing it again. I've done numerous shows on this jerk. And he was really there to make sure ISIS was moving along fine after all the money was coming in from the West, just like the money came in after World War II that we've been talking about, to fund all these revolutionary wars and rebel groups. So, let's get on to one big one. Look, we haven't talked about this in years. Nobody wants to talk about it. We're all dying from the coronavirus now. But 9/11 has been forgotten, man. It is a shame. And I tell you what, after researching everything and listening to some really good people, 9/11 is an inside job. It never happened the way that the government tells you. And you're not going to get that from guys on CNN, guys on Fox, any of these people. They're going to call you a conspiracy theorist. Well, you can call me that, and I hope I'm the biggest one in the whole world, because you guys know that government story doesn't make sense, and you will not give it the light of day. I could go over 100 different reasons. People that I met in New York for those 2 years I worked on it, asking questions to the 9/11 Commission while they ran to the elevator, frightened and not answering, and then blocking us like we were some kind of, going to hurt them. All we were going to do is expose the goddamn truth. Now, these 3 buildings that collapsed that day did not fall because of the brilliance of Muslim terrorists. It was the work of the Jesuits through the CIA and the Israeli Mossad, both of which they control. Yeah. It's interesting. In 1994, David Rockefeller at the UN said, quote, "We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order." What the hell do you think that crisis was? 9/11, folks, transformed America and the world. And here's a short. I want to play this because I found this, and this is good. Because I want to play a little 5-minute clip that shows the absurdity. I can do it in 5 minutes, all you guys on Fox, Hannity. I like these guys, Hannity, Tucker Carlson. Oh, even the guys on CNN. They're really good talkers, and I really like them. They're making a lot of money. They say, in fact, a lot of things they say I have to agree with, but I tell you, I want to know why they don't discuss this, because they're afraid of being called a conspiracy theorist. And I'm thinking to myself, what are they really afraid of? I think they're afraid of ever getting to the bottom of the Vatican-led New World Order because they'd find out too much truth. In fact, right now, I was watching Fox because I need my daily sitcom. I need to watch the daily sitcom play out. And they're running a series on socialism and communism. And isn't it interesting, everything you hear now, socialism and communism, if you turn on Fox, you hear more about that than you do about conservatism now. They're ushering it in. They're getting you used to it. And although they appear on Fox to be against it, they didn't know what the hell they're talking. They gave you the socialist idea. And a lot of the things they said on there were true, Marx, Engels, the rest of it, but they don't get to the bottom of it like we do here. Why don't they go back to the Paraguay experiments of the Jesuits and really the connections of the Jesuits to all the people that they talked about, and they would see, because my goal is to really make people understand these politicians, including Castro and the rest of them, are all in their pocket, and all of them even before that weren't smart enough to figure this out. They had to be coaxed. And let me say a few other things to get my name as the top conspiracy theorist in the world. How about this one? The Vatican wrote the Quran back then, okay? And Muhammad was picked out. How about that one? How about this one? The Vatican wrote Father Stempel's, the Jesuits, Mein Kampf. How about this one? They were instrumental first in translating, guess what? Sun Tzu's Art of War. Right, in French. Jesuit did it. Guess what? I believe the Jesuits wrote and all their priests and everything, I believe back then they wrote all Shakespeare's plays. Yeah. I believe that they had their hand in Mozart, and he was really a child prodigy. Oh, boy, Greg, you're going out on a limb. You're going to be hated. I'm glad they got their hands off Muhammad Ali. I really liked him. I interviewed Muhammad Ali, by the way, back when I was in Rome. Yeah, what a good guy, man. I spent about 2 hours with him. I walked into his hotel room. I remember he was there on a sports conference. This was after he was the champ, but before he got sick. And he invited me over. It was in a big hotel in Rome, so I wanted to do a feature story about him after being champion. And I got to I knocked on the door. He said, "Come on in." I walked in. There he was with his sweatsuit, watching cartoons, and money laid out all over the place. There was money thrown around all over the place. I said, "Muhammad, don't worry. I'm not here to do anything but interview. I don't want any money." And he said, "Oh, man, I'm so depressed today." I said, "Why?" He said, "I wake up and I spend $10,000 just on these people that come with me, my entourage. I got to get rid of it. It's too big, So, a great interview. Funny as hell. And anyway, I'm glad the Jesuits didn't get their hands on him. But anyway, so here's what I'm talking about. I mean, I could go on. Their hand in the Lincoln assassination, their hand in the killing 4 or 5 other presidents. I mean, this is ridiculous. So now you're going to back it up? Well, I've tried over the years just to get some of these facts about those things on the table, but you can't. Because all they're going to do is call you a conspiracy theorist nutcase, And I don't want to be put in the same category as Alex Jones because he's one of them. And they're like arguing back and forth, Why does he get on the news? He's always, on the mainstream. Alex Jones is a fair, because they can trust him. They're paying him to take you down the wrong rabbit hole. You think they'll put me on? I remember years ago when I was on, it was RBN and Genesis, and Ron Paul, was then his son is now Rand Paul in the Senate, Ron Paul is the big guy. You know, he was always on the side of the people, blah, blah, blah. And he was giving interviews with Alex Jones and all these people. And my show was one of the more popular ones. But he wouldn't come on my show because my reputation was this. I was going to ask him the questions that were hard about the Jesuits, where the other ones were talking about, you know, this, that, the other thing, you know, 9/11, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to pin the tail on the Jesuits and see what his connections, what he thought about that. He didn't want any part of that. So it kind of told me I was on the right track. But anyway, I did want to play this 5-minute clip. And it's really the best, it really shows you the absurdity of 9/11. And if you believe, just check it out. If you're on the fence, you don't think it's an inside job, if you think I'm crazy and not American, just first listen to this 5 minutes, then go check it out for yourself. Here you go.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York. While in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon in the budget analyst office where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC-7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise him, and her. And her, and her, and him. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about...
His head could be seen to move violently forward.
And...
They took the babies out of the incubators.
and
mobile production facilities,
and
the rescue of Jessica Lynch.
If you have any questions about this story, you are a batshit, paranoid, tinfoil, dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and or freedom, happiness, rainbows, rock and roll, puppy dogs, apple pie, and your grandma, you will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This has been a public service announcement by the Friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DIA, SEC, MSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission.
Quite interesting. Wow. I'll tell you something. Don't ever say that 9/11 was an inside job in front of the Jesuit command. You're going to end up in a gulag. And you're not a patriot if you don't follow. Did you hear the now in 5 minutes, the guy talks really fast and good. Gave you a little bit of a synopsis. Can you imagine going back now to the people, the hundreds of people that I met that have done a hell of a lot more than I ever did. I met some great people that really, man, you could not ever believe this government again. And that's up close and personal in New York for a couple of years. And let me tell you, everything from how the buildings came down to the Building 7 to Shanksville, none of it was ever made sense. But it's kind of like this. You're going to believe they went to the moon because you didn't see it. And 99% of the people didn't see it. They believed their government and still do today. And then there's the other side of the coin that I loved when I was there, meeting all of the disinformation people put into the groups that were trying to get the truth. That's an interesting experiment, and I learned a lot because I know I met a lot of them. I didn't know that then. But anyway, let me tell you, to try to get information when you got first the government and all these people this gentleman did on this really good video, again, you know, saying it was the 19 guys with box cutters, and they stuck to that story from day one. The one I liked the best, he mentioned that passport, and boy, did I find out some other things that were left. The people on the airplanes, and a lot of facts that make you just laugh well, put it this way. They basically, the cover-up in 9/11 was much more thought out than what they did. And basically, they did something quickly, blew up a few buildings, said all these things, and stuck to, they knew who did it 5 minutes after. Well, they had it planned. But if you say that, you're not a patriot. But let me tell you something. If you're afraid of being called a conspiracy, tinfoiled hat, you shouldn't be even looking at the truth anymore. You should just go home, make yourself a hot cup of tea, and get pacified by the mainstream. And that, just call it a day. Because this has gotten so far out of hand in 2020, ever since 9/11, that unless you take a really strong stance in your own mind and say, no, I want to be called the biggest conspiracy theorist in the world because there's so many facts behind this stuff, I'm not going to be swayed, and I'm not afraid of these people. And basically, man, then you don't have to sit in that rocking chair having your cup of tea. You can go out, run a mile, have fun, enjoy your life until the time comes when you meet your maker. But let me tell you something. If you don't, they're going to find a way to get you to meet your maker before you really want to. And nothing worse. And I always remember that Al Pacino movie. Remember, he gave a speech in that movie. What the hell was it? Oh, boy. He won an Academy Award for it, and he was helping this kid in college. He played a blind military man. A great movie. And he's giving this speech in front of these preppies when they were trying to expel this student. And he said something that I've always remembered. And they were talking about, he used to be a commander in Vietnam. And it was talking about all these guys losing their limbs. But in this movie, Charlie didn't snitch. And he wasn't going to lose his spirit. He wasn't going to lose his way. And he's in this big prep school that supposedly brings out all our leaders. And Pacino looked up and said, there's nothing, you can lose an arm or a leg, but there's nothing worse than losing your spirit and your mind and being taken away. And I'm paraphrasing. And what he was saying was, that's what will happen to you if you don't stand up and seek out this information despite being called the biggest conspiracy theorist in the world. Nothing wrong with it. And you know what? My last word on this today before the weekend, I don't like the mainstream giving Alex Jones, that title because he's not worthy of it. He's one of them. And so remember that. While you're going after this information, you're going to meet a lot of people also, depending how deep you go, that really will profess to be on your side, but are working for the other side. Yep. That's how they operate. They infiltrate every damn thing. They've done it to Protestant churches, the Jesuits. They've done it everywhere. And they'll do it to you too. So don't forget it. And remember this. This kind of stuff will set you free. Free. I mean free to run a mile, be happy, smile, turn the TV on and go, ha! Hey, listen to that new TV show they got on. Trump's out there. Yeah, let's watch him today. Back Monday on the Investigative Journale.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.